I stood at my wife's grave alone, watching them lower the casket into frozen Indiana ground while my son was somewhere in Florida eating birthday cake with his wife. That's the moment I knew I'd lost him forever. Let me back up. 3 days before the funeral, I sat in a hospital room watching Miriam take her last breath. Pancreatic cancer doesn't care about your plans or your prayers. It just takes what it wants. Her hand went cold in mine around 4:47 in the morning. The nurses were kind. They gave me time before they started unhooking the machines. I called my son at 5:15. No answer. Left a voicemail. My voice cracked when I said, "Aaron, your mother's gone." I waited by the phone for 2 hours, staring at the screen like somehow that would make it ring faster. The text came at 7:30. "Dad, I'm so sorry. Clara's birthday weekend, though. We booked this trip to Miami months ago. Non-refundable. I'll come by next week to help with everything. Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story." I read that message 12 times, each time hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something that made sense, something that didn't feel like a knife twisting in my chest. My wife was dead, and my son was worried about a vacation deposit. The woman who carried him for 9 months, who stayed up nights when he croup, who worked double shifts at the diner so he could have new shoes for school. The woman who cried tears of joy at his college graduation, who helped him move into his first apartment, who sent care packages every month even after he stopped calling. She was dead, and he chose cake over a casket. People ask me now if I saw it coming. Honestly, the signs were there for years. I just didn't want to believe them. Aaron met Clara 5 years ago at some tech conference in Chicago. She worked in marketing, came from money, had that polished look that made Miriam nervous from day one. Not that Clara was ever rude exactly. She was just distant, like she was performing the role of daughter-in-law, instead of actually being one. The first Thanksgiving after they got engaged, Clara convinced Aaron they should start their own traditions. Translation: stop coming home. Christmas became a phone call. Easter turned into a text. Miriam would set an extra place at the table anyway, just in case they surprised us. They never did. "He's building his own life," Miriam would say, folding another unanswered birthday card back into its envelope. That's what we raised him to do. But there's a difference between independence and abandonment. I saw it. She refused to. When the cancer diagnosis came 10 months ago, I called Aaron immediately. He drove down that weekend, spent Saturday crying in his mother's arms, promising he'd visit more. By Sunday afternoon, his phone was glued to his hand. Work emails, client calls, Clara texting about some furniture delivery. "I'll come back next month," he said at the door. He didn't. The chemo started in November. Miriam lost her hair by Christmas. Her skin turned gray. Some days, she couldn't keep down water. I'd find her at 3 a.m. sitting in the bathroom floor because she was too weak to make it back to bed. Aaron sent flowers twice. Called maybe once a month. Always had an excuse ready before I could even ask when he was coming. "Big project at work, Dad." "Clara's family is in town. We've got this thing we can't get out of." I stopped asking. February brought the worst of it. The doctors pulled me aside after an appointment and used words like weeks, not months, and make her comfortable. I called Aaron that night. He didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. Finally got a text at 10 p.m. in a meeting. "What's up? What's up? Your mother is dying." I typed that out. Deleted it. Typed it again. Finally just wrote, "Call me when you can." He called 3 days later. I told him straight. The doctors gave her maybe a month. Silence on the other end. Then, "Okay, I'll try to get down there soon." Try, like visiting your dying mother, was the same as trying a new restaurant. Miriam never complained. Even when she could barely lift her head off the pillow, she'd ask about him. "Has Aaron called?" "No, Mama. I'm sure he's just busy." "I'm sure he is." She died on a Tuesday. The funeral was Friday. Plenty of time for him to cancel whatever Florida birthday nonsense he had planned. He didn't. The church was packed. People I hadn't seen in years showed up. Her sister drove 9 hours from Ohio. The mailman came. Our neighbor who Miriam used to make soup for. The teenager she tutored in reading. Everyone showed up, except the one person who mattered most. I sat in that front pew staring at the empty seat beside me, and something inside me just broke. Not the crying kind of broken. The quiet kind. The kind that changes you permanently. During the service, people kept glancing at the empty space, whispering. I could feel their pity crawling over my skin like insects. After, they asked where Aaron was with that careful voice people use around tragedy. Couldn't make it, I said. Left it at that. What else was there to say? That my son valued his wife's birthday party more than his mother's funeral? That he was probably posting pictures on social media while I was picking out his mother's casket? That every time Miriam asked about him in those final weeks, I lied and said he'd call tomorrow? I drove home to an empty house that still smelled like her lavender lotion. Her reading glasses were on the coffee table. Her Bible book marked the Psalms. The Afghan she was knitting draped over a chair, only half finished. I sat in the dark and didn't cry. Couldn't. The grief was too big for tears. That's when I heard the car in the driveway. Headlights swept across the living room wall. A door slammed. Footsteps on the porch. And there he was. Aaron walked in carrying flowers. Lily's her favorite. And wearing that same guilty expression he used to have when he broke something as a kid. Dad, I'm so sorry. I held up my hand. Something in my face made him stop mid-sentence. He stood there in his expensive coat and his polished shoes, holding flowers for a woman who had never smelled them. And I realized I was looking at a stranger. Would you have forgiven him if he showed up the next day? Drop your answer in the comments below. Aaron set the flowers on the kitchen table like they could somehow fix everything, then pulled out a chair without asking. The scraping sound against the linoleum made me flinch. That was Miriam's chair, where she used to sit every morning with her tea and her crossword puzzle. Clara's birthday was planned for months, he started. His voice had that rehearsed quality, like he'd practiced his speech in the car. The resort was non-refundable, and her entire family was there. She would have been devastated if I canceled. I just stared at him. I wanted to come, Dad, you have to believe that. But the timing was just... Your mother asked about you, I said quietly, 3 days before she died. She was so weak she could barely whisper, but she asked if you called. He looked down at his hands. I told her yes. I told her you'd been busy, but you sent your love. You know what she said? My voice cracked despite myself. She smiled, said she knew you were thinking about her. Aaron's jaw tightened. I was thinking about her. I think about you guys all the time. Thinking ain't the same as showing up. I had obligations. To your wife's birthday party. The words came out harder than I meant. Your mother was dying for 10 months, Aaron. 10 months. You couldn't find one weekend in 10 months. My job is demanding. Clara needs me. We have a life in Chicago that... I corrected him. You had a life here first, with the woman who gave you everything. He stood up fast, chair screeching again. That's not fair. You and Mom always taught me to put my wife first, to prioritize my marriage. Now you're mad that I'm doing exactly that. There's prioritizing, and then there's abandoning. You forgot where you came from. I didn't forget anything. His voice rose. I'm trying to build something. Clara and I have plans. We're buying a house, starting a family. That requires money and focus, and apparently it requires forgetting your dying mother. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Aaron's face went red. He opened his mouth, closed it, then sat back down slowly. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, more calculated. Actually, Dad, that's kind of why I came. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Clara and I found a house in Evanston. Great neighborhood, good schools for when we have kids. But the down payment is steep. With Mom gone, I thought maybe if there's any inheritance or if you could help it alone. The world tilted sideways. I stood there processing what I'd just heard. My wife wasn't even in the ground 24 hours, and my son was asking for money, not asking how I was doing, not offering to help sort through her things. not apologizing for missing the funeral, asking for money. You came here the day after your mother's funeral, I said slowly, to ask me for a down payment on a house. It's not like that. I just thought, Mom would want to help us, right? She always said she wanted to see us settled. Something cold settled in my chest. Miriam used to say, you don't really know someone until they show you who they are, when it costs them something. Aaron was showing me now. Your mother left everything to me. I said, the house, her savings, her jewelry, all of it. His eyes flickered with something that might have been hope or greed. Hard to tell the difference, sometimes. She trusted me to do the right thing with it. I walked to the cabinet where we kept important papers, pulled out an envelope and a pen. So I'm going to do exactly that. I wrote something on a piece of paper, folded it once, handed it to him. Aaron opened it. Read it. His face went from confused to angry in about 3 seconds. What the hell is this supposed to mean? It means exactly what it says. A son who forgets his mother will find no inheritance in her love. You're seriously going to punish me because I couldn't make it to one funeral? One funeral. I repeated the words like they were foreign. Aaron, you missed the only funeral that should have mattered. You missed 10 months of hospital visits. You missed Sunday dinners and phone calls and every chance she gave you to show up. So what, you're cutting me off? Over this. I'm not cutting you off. I'm just not rewarding you for abandoning her. His face went scarlet. Clara was right about you. She said you, and Mom never really accepted her, that you'd turn on me the first chance you got. Clara, I almost laughed. Clara's been pulling you away from us since day one, and you were too blind to see it. She's my wife, and that was your mother. The shout surprised us both. I never raised my voice. Miriam used to say I was too even-tempered for my own good, but something in me snapped. Your mother who sacrificed everything so you could have more than we did, who worked doubles at that diner until her feet bled, who saved every penny for your college fund while wearing the same 3 dresses for years. Aaron's hands were shaking. You can't guilt-trip me into... I'm not guilt-tripping you. I'm telling you the truth. Your mother loved you more than anything in this world. And when she needed you most, you chose cake and champagne. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how your wife's birthday party was more important than saying goodbye to the woman who gave you life. He couldn't. He just stood there opening and closing his mouth like a fish drowning in air. You want money for a house? I continued. Get it from Clara's family. Get it from your fancy tech job. Get it anywhere but here. Because you're right about one thing. Your mother would have wanted to help you. She would have given you everything she had, even after you broke her heart. But I'm not your mother, and I don't reward disrespect. Aaron grabbed his coat from the chair. You're going to regret this. I already regret plenty. Regret believing you when you said you'd visit. Regret making excuses for you to your mother. Regret not telling you years ago that you were turning into someone we didn't recognize. He headed for the door, then stopped. When you die alone in this house, don't expect me to come running. The threat was meant to hurt. Instead, it just made me tired. Son, I've been alone for 10 months watching my wife die while you were living your life. You already didn't come running. That ship sailed. He slammed the door hard enough to rattle the picture frames. I stood in the quiet house, listening to his car peel out of the driveway. The lilies he'd brought were still on the table, already starting to wilt in the warm kitchen air. Miriam would have put them in water. I threw them in the trash. The next few weeks passed in a blur of paperwork and casseroles from church ladies who didn't know what else to do. I sorted through Miriam's clothes, boxed up her books, found her old recipe cards written in her careful handwriting. I didn't hear from Aaron. Part of me thought he might call to apologize. Another part knew better. Pride's a funny thing. It'll make you double down on bad decisions just to avoid admitting you were wrong. Clara's birthday came and went on social media. I didn't look, but our neighbor mentioned seeing photos. Them on some beach, smiling like everything was perfect, like Aaron's mother hadn't just died, like nothing had happened at all. Miriam's sister called every few days to check on me. "How you holding up, Harold?" "I'm here, I'd say," which wasn't really an answer, but it was all I had. "Aaron ever call?" "No." She'd make a disapproving sound. "That boy needs his head examined." Maybe so, or maybe he was just broken in a way I couldn't fix anymore. I started going through Miriam's financial papers one evening about 6 weeks after the funeral. Insurance policies, savings account statements, the deed to the house. She'd been meticulous about record keeping. Everything labeled and organized in folders. That's when I found the letter. It was in an envelope marked for Harold in her handwriting, dated 2 weeks before she died. My hand shook as I opened it. The first line made my throat close up. "My dearest Harold, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And knowing you, you're probably sitting in the kitchen at 9 p.m. with a cup of coffee, trying to figure out what to do about Aaron." She knew me too well. The letter went on for 3 pages, about how much she loved me, how she didn't blame Aaron for being distant, how Clara had insecurities I didn't understand, how she hoped one day he'd realize what he'd lost. But it was the last paragraph that knocked the wind out of me. "I'm leaving everything to you, Harold, because I trust your judgment. If Aaron needs help someday, really needs it, I know you'll be there. But don't let him use your love as a crutch. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for our children is let them fall. Let them learn what it costs to push people away. I learned that from my own mother, and as much as it hurt at the time, it made me who I am." She'd sign it, "Forever yours, Miriam." I sat there holding that letter until the coffee went cold. Outside, a car pulled into the driveway. Not Aaron's car. Too expensive. Some kind of SUV with tinted windows. The engine cut off. 2 doors opened. Footsteps on the porch. Then knocking. I wasn't expecting anyone. Folded the letter back into its envelope and went to the door. Aaron stood there, and beside him, looking uncomfortable in designer jeans and too much makeup, was Clara. Neither of them were smiling. "Dad," Aaron said. His voice was different than last time. Smaller. "We need to talk." What could possibly bring them back? Comment below. Have you ever had family show up asking for help after burning bridges? I didn't invite them in right away. Just stood there, in the doorway, looking at the two of them. Aaron had lost weight. Dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't been sleeping. Clara's smile was tighter than usual. Faker somehow. "It's cold out here, Dad," Aaron said. I stepped aside without a word. They came in bringing the smell of expensive perfume and desperation. Clara sat on the couch like she was afraid it might be dirty. Aaron stayed standing, hands jammed in his pockets. Neither of them looked at each other. "Coffee?" I asked, more out of habit than hospitality. "No, thanks," Clara said quickly. "We won't take up much of your time." Won't take up much time. Like this was a business meeting. I sat in Miriam's chair. Nobody commented on it. The silence stretched out long enough to get uncomfortable. Finally, Aaron cleared his throat. "I know I messed up, missing the funeral. Coming here asking for money the next day. That was wrong. I waited. There was a but coming. There's always a but. But things have gotten complicated." He glanced at Clara. She was staring at her fingernails. "We need help, Dad. Real help." "What kind of help?" Clara spoke up then, her voice sharp. "Aaron's company is downsizing. They let him go 3 weeks ago." The words hung in the air. I looked at my son. "Is that true?" He nodded, not meeting my eyes. "Tech industry is rough right now. They cut 30% of the team." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Sorry doesn't pay our bills," Clara snapped, then caught herself, softened her tone. "What Aaron means is we're in a difficult position. We have rent due, car payments, credit cards. Without his income, you work in marketing," I said to her. "That's still bringing in money?" Her jaw tightened. "I took some time off to focus on wedding planning last year. Haven't found the right position yet." Translation. She quit her job and hadn't bothered looking for another one. "So neither of you are working." I said it like a statement, not a question. "It's temporary," Aaron insisted. "I've got interviews lined up. But in the meantime, we're drowning. Our savings are gone. We're 2 months behind on rent. The landlord's threatening eviction. I sat back in the chair, processing. Part of me felt that automatic parent urge to help, to fix things. But Miriam's letter was still fresh in my mind. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for our children is let them fall. What about Clara's family? I asked. You said they had money. Clara's face went red. My parents and I aren't speaking right now. Why not? That's personal. You're asking me for money. Nothing's personal anymore. She looked at Aaron like she wanted him to defend her. He just stared at the floor. They didn't approve of some of my choices, she finally said. What choices? Does it matter? Her voice went sharp again. The point is we need help, and you're Aaron's father. Don't you care that your son might end up homeless? I care, I said quietly. I cared when his mother was dying, and he didn't visit. I cared when he missed her funeral for your birthday. I cared when he showed up the next day asking for a down payment on a house, instead of asking how I was doing. Clara's face flushed darker. He apologized for that. No, he didn't. He explained it. That's not the same thing. Aaron finally looked up. Dad, please. I know I screwed up. I know I wasn't there for Mom. But I can't change that now. What I can change is getting back on my feet and being better going forward. How much do you need? Hope flickered across his face. $15,000 would cover rent, utilities, and give us a cushion while I find work. $15,000. I thought about Miriam's savings account, about the life insurance policy she'd left, about her careful budgeting over 42 years of marriage, so we'd have something to leave behind. That's a lot of money. I know, but I'm your son. Family helps family. Family shows up for family, I countered, even when it's hard. Even when there's a birthday party happening. Clara stood up abruptly. Are you seriously still hung up on that? It was one weekend. One mistake. Haven't you ever made a mistake? I've made plenty. But when my mistakes hurt people, I own them. I didn't make excuses. This is pointless, she said to Aaron. I told you he wouldn't help. Sit down, I said, not loud, but firm enough that she actually did. You want $15,000. I want some answers first. What answers? Aaron asked. Why'd you stop coming around before your mother got sick? She used to cry over those unanswered phone calls. You know, those canceled holiday visits. He shifted uncomfortably. We were building our life. Clara's job was demanding, mine too. We just got busy. Busy. I tasted the word. You know what your mother did when she was busy? She made time. She always made time. Not everyone is like Mom, Aaron said, and there was an edge to it. You're right. Most people aren't. She was special, and you took her for granted. Clara's phone buzzed. She looked at it, typed something quickly. That important? I asked. Just a friend. Your friend can wait. I turned back to Aaron. Tell me the truth. Did Clara not want you coming home? The question landed like a grenade. Clara's head snapped up. Excuse me. It's a simple question. All those canceled visits, those last-minute excuses. Did you encourage them? Aaron is his own person. He makes his own decisions. That's not an answer. She stood again. I'm not going to sit here and be accused of what? Pulling my son away from his family? Because that's exactly what happened. Year by year, visit by visit, you isolated him. I did no such thing. Her voice went shrill. Your wife was manipulative and controlling, always calling, always guilt-tripping Aaron about not visiting enough. Some of us have lives that don't revolve around. Aaron grabbed her arm. Clara, stop. But she jerked away from him. No, I'm tired of being blamed for everything. Your mother treated me like an outsider from day one. Made little comments about how I dressed, how I talked, how I didn't cook enough or clean enough. Nothing I did was ever good enough for precious Miriam. The room went absolutely silent. I stood up slowly. Get out of my house. Dad, Aaron started. You heard me. Get out. Clara grabbed her purse, face twisted with anger. This is why we're in this situation. Because you care more about some dead woman than your living son. The slap came before I could think. Not hard, I'm not that kind of man. But enough to shock her silent. That dead woman, I said quietly, was the best person I ever knew, and you're not fit to speak her name. Clara's hand went to her cheek. Her eyes welled up, but I couldn't tell if it was real emotion or manipulation. Probably both. We're leaving, she said to Aaron. But Aaron didn't move. He just stood there looking between us like he was finally seeing something he'd been blind to. Aaron. Clara's voice was steel. Let's go. You said that about my mother? He asked. That she was manipulative? She was, but you were too close to see it. She sent you birthday presents every year, made your favorite cookies at Christmas, invited you to dinners you never came to, obligation gifts, guilt presents. Clara shook her head. I saw through it even if he didn't. Aaron's face changed then. Something shifted behind his eyes. My mother was dying, he said slowly, and you convinced me that your birthday trip couldn't be canceled. The trip was non-refundable. It was $4,000, Clara. For $1,000 versus saying goodbye to my mother. His voice cracked. What the hell is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Your father has poisoned you against me. Can't you see that? But Aaron was looking at me now, really looking, and I saw my son again for the first time in 5 years. I'm sorry, he whispered. Dad, I'm so sorry. Clara grabbed his arm. We're not doing this. We came here for help, and he's refusing. Your father is selfish and cruel, and... Get your hand off me. She froze. Aaron had never used that tone with her before. I could see it in her face. We're done, he said. What? You and me. We're done. Clara's mouth opened and closed. You're going to throw away our marriage because your father... Because I finally see what everyone else saw years ago. You cut me off from my family, made me miss my mother's last months, her funeral, and I let you because I was weak and stupid and... His voice broke. She died asking about me, and I wasn't there. Aaron, you're upset. Let's talk about this at home. There is no home. We're getting evicted, remember? And you know what? I don't care anymore. I'll sleep in my car if I have to. But I'm done letting you tell me who I am. Clara looked at me like this was somehow my fault. Maybe it was. Maybe I should have confronted this years ago. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Stopped. Turn back. You will regret this, she said to Aaron. Both of you. Then she was gone. Engine starting. Tires on gravel. Taillights disappearing down the road. Aaron collapsed onto the couch and put his face in his hands. His shoulders shook. I sat down beside him. Didn't say anything. Just sat there while my son cried for the first time since he was 12 years old. I can't believe I missed her funeral, he finally said, for a birthday party. What kind of person does that? The kind who forgot where he came from. But people can remember. How do I fix this? I can't apologize to her. Can't tell her I'm sorry. Can't. You live better, I said. You be the man she raised you to be. That's how you honor her now. He wiped his eyes, looked around the house like he was seeing it for the first time. Can I stay here tonight? I don't have anywhere else to go. This is your home, Aaron. It always was. He nodded, then broke down again. We sat there while the evening turned to night. Eventually, I made coffee. We talked about Miriam, about the funeral he'd missed, about the years he'd lost. Around midnight, he fell asleep on the couch. I covered him with Miriam's Afghan, the one she never finished, and turned off the lights. In the darkness, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe the beginning of it. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee. Aaron was in the kitchen making breakfast. Eggs and toast, just like Miriam used to make. Morning, he said quietly. Morning. We ate in comfortable silence. Then Aaron cleared his throat. I know I have no right to ask this, but could I stay here for a while? Just until I get back on my feet. I thought about saying no, about making him learn his lesson the hard way. But then I thought about Miriam's letter, about trust and judgment, and being there when it really mattered. Under some conditions, I said, anything. You get a job. I don't care what it is, fast food, construction, whatever. But you work. Done. You go to your mother's grave every week. Tell her about your life, even if you feel stupid doing it. His eyes watered. Okay, and you figure out who Aaron Denton really is. Not who Clara wanted you to be. Not who I want you to be. Who you actually are. He nodded. I can do that. Then welcome home, son. We shook hands across the table. It wasn't perfect. We still had a long way to go. But it was a start. 3 days later, a lawyer's letter arrived. Clara was suing Aaron for spousal support. Has someone you loved ever turned around and sued you? Share your story below. And was I right to take Aaron back in? The lawyer's letter sat on the kitchen table between us like a coiled snake. Aaron read it 3 times, his face getting paler with each pass. She's claiming I abandoned her, he said. Says I left without warning, and now she can't pay her bills. She wants $3,000 a month in spousal support. Can she do that? We were married 2 years. In Illinois, yeah, she might have a case. He ran his hands through his hair. This is insane. We're getting evicted, and she wants me to pay her $3,000 a month. She's angry. People do stupid things when they're angry. Stupid. Aaron laughed bitterly. This is vindictive. She knows I don't have money. She's just trying to hurt me. I picked up the letter, scanned it. Legal jargon mostly, but the intent was clear. Clara wanted Aaron to suffer. The lawyer's name at the bottom caught my eye. Whitmore and Associates. Expensive firm, which meant Clara had found money somewhere. Her parents, Aaron said, following my thought. She must have made up with them. That's the only way she could afford this. The parents she wasn't speaking to last week? Money fixes relationships in her family. Her dad, some investment banker. Probably thrilled to fund a lawsuit against a guy who walked out on his daughter. Over the next week, Aaron threw himself into job hunting. Applied everywhere. Tech companies, retail stores, warehouses. His confidence was shot, though. Every rejection email hit him like a physical blow. 10 years of experience, and I can't even get an interview at Best Buy. He said one night. Takes time. I don't have time. That lawyer wants a response in 30 days. He stared at his laptop screen. Maybe I should just give Clara what she wants. Agree to the support payment somehow. With what money? I don't know. Get a loan. Max out credit cards. That's just digging a deeper hole. He knew I was right, but desperation makes people stupid. I'd seen it during the recession when guys from my construction crew started making bad decisions, trying to keep their heads above water. I need to talk to a lawyer, Aaron said, but I can't afford one. There's legal aid services, which are backed up for months. He closed the laptop. I'm screwed, Dad. Completely screwed. I wanted to argue, but couldn't find the words. Sometimes situations are just bad with no easy fix. 2 days later, Aaron got a call from a staffing agency. Construction work, general labor. 40 hours a week at $18 an hour. Not great money, but it was something. He took it immediately. I drove him to the site that first morning. New development going up on the east side of town. Aaron stared at the mud and equipment like it was another planet. You know anything about construction? I asked. I know which end of a hammer to hold. That's a start. He worked that day until his hands blistered. Came home covered in drywall dust and smelling like sweat. Miriam would have fussed over him. Made him a special dinner. I just pointed to the shower and reheated leftovers. After he cleaned up, he sat at the table flexing his sore hands. That was the hardest day of work I've ever done. Physical labor is different than sitting at a desk. I have new respect for what you did all those years. He looked at his palms. How'd you do this for 40 years? You get used to it. And it's honest work. Nothing wrong with honest work. He nodded slowly. I spent so long chasing this idea of success. Corner office, fancy title, 6-figure salary. But Mom and you were happy with so much less. We weren't happy with less. We were happy with enough. I don't think I ever understood the difference. The weeks crawled by. Aaron worked construction during the day and filled out job applications at night. The lawsuit from Clara hung over everything like a storm cloud that wouldn't break. Then one evening a car pulled up outside. Not Clara's. A black sedan with tinted windows. Official looking. Aaron and I were eating dinner when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see a man in a suit holding a folder. "Process server," Aaron said quietly. Sure enough, the man handed Aaron papers, had him sign for them, then left without a word. Aaron opened the folder right there in the doorway. His face went white. "What is it?" I asked. "She's not just suing for spousal support anymore." His voice shook. "She's claiming I'm hiding assets. Says I have access to your inheritance from Mom, and I'm refusing to share it. That's ridiculous. She's demanding full financial disclosure. Bank statements, tax returns, everything. And she wants a court to freeze any transfers of assets from you to me." He looked up at me. "Dad, she's coming after your money now." I took the papers from him, read through the legal language. Clara's lawyer had crafted it carefully. Claimed that Miriam's estate should be considered marital property, since Aaron was the natural heir, that I was hiding assets to prevent Clara from receiving her rightful share. "This won't hold up," I said, though I wasn't entirely sure. Her lawyer wouldn't file it if they didn't think they had a shot. Aaron sank into a chair. "I've destroyed everything. Your relationship with me, your finances, Mom's memory." "Stop." I set the papers down. "Your mother's estate is mine. Clara has no claim to it. Any lawyer will tell you that. Any lawyer I can't afford." We sat in silence for a moment. Then I made a decision. "Tomorrow morning we're going to see Bill Henderson." "The attorney from church?" "He owes me a favor. Helped him with a deck addition last year. Didn't charge him full price. Time to call it in." Bill Henderson's office was above Insurance Agency on Main Street. Same furniture he'd had for 20 years. Same coffee maker that produced something that tasted like motor oil. But he was sharp and he was fair. He read through Clara's filing while Aaron and I sat across from his desk. After 10 minutes, he set it down and leaned back in his chair. "This is a reach," he said. "A big reach. Spousal support might have some merit depending on circumstances, but going after inheritance that passed directly to a parent? That's not how this works." "So we can fight it?" Aaron asked. "You can. Question is whether you should." "What do you mean?" Bill steepled his fingers. "Fighting this will cost money you don't have. Even if we win, and we probably would, you'll rack up legal fees. Clara's family clearly has resources. They can drag this out, bleed you dry in attorney costs. So I should just give her what she wants?" Aaron's voice rose. "Let her take money from my father? I'm saying you need to think strategically. What's the end game here?" "The end game is she doesn't get a penny of my mother's money." Bill looked at me. "Harold, what do you think?" I'd been quiet, letting them talk. But now I spoke up. "How much would it cost to fight this properly?" "Retainer of $5,000. Could go up to 15 or 20 if it drags out. And if we offer a settlement instead?" "Depends on what you offer. If Aaron agrees to limited spousal support, say $1,000 a month for 6 months while she gets on her feet, Clara might take it just to avoid court." "That's $6,000, Aaron said. "Dad, you can't." "It's cheaper than fighting, and it ends as faster. But it's rewarding her for being vindictive." "No," I said, "it's buying peace. Sometimes that's worth more than being right." Aaron looked like he wanted to argue, but Bill was nodding. "Harold's got a point. Get this settled. Get Clara out of your life. Move forward. Dragging it through court just keeps you connected to her." We left Bill's office with instructions to make a settlement offer. Aaron was quiet the whole drive home. "I hate this," he finally said. "Feels like she wins." "She doesn't win. She gets money. That's not the same thing." "Feels the same. Winning would be you staying miserable in a marriage that was slowly destroying you. Money's just money. You can always make more." He shook his head. "Mom never would have had to deal with something like this. Your mother had her own struggles. You just didn't see them because she was good at hiding them." "Like what?" I'd never told him this story. Wasn't sure if I should now, but maybe he needed to hear it. When we were first married, my business almost went under. Bad economy. Clients not paying, suppliers demanding cash up front. We were 2 months from losing everything. I never knew that. Miriam had been saving money in secret. Little bits from her waitressing job, birthday money from her parents, whatever she could squirrel away. Turned out she had almost $6,000 hidden in a coffee can in the basement. Why secret? Because she knew I was proud, knew I'd never asked for it. So she just put it on the table one night and said, "This is ours, not mine. Use it." That money saved the business. Aaron was quiet for a long moment. "What's your point?" "Point is marriage should make you stronger, not weaker. Should build you up, not tear you down. Your mother and I faced problems together. You and Clara just faced each other. I picked the wrong person. You picked someone who looked right on paper. That's different than being right." We pulled into the driveway. Aaron sat there with his hand on the door handle, but not opening it. "Thanks for helping with the lawyer fees," he said. "That's what family does. We show up, even when it's expensive." The subtle jab wasn't lost on him. He nodded slowly. "I'm going to pay you back. Every penny. I know you will." Over the next 2 weeks, Bill negotiated with Clara's attorney. Back and forth, offers and counteroffers. Clara wanted $3,000 a month for a year. We offered $1,000 for 6 months. They came back with $2,000 for 9 months. We held at $1,000 for 8 months. Finally, Clara agreed. $8,000 total, paid in monthly installments. Aaron would be free of her by Christmas. The day the settlement papers arrived, Aaron signed them at the kitchen table with a pen that shook in his hand. "It's done," he said. "Finally done." "Not quite. Still have to make the payments." "I will. I'll get a second job, if I have to, but you're not paying another dime of my mistakes." He kept that promise. Picked up weekend shifts at a warehouse. Worked construction during the week, loaded trucks on Saturday and Sunday. I barely saw him except in passing. But every Sunday evening, before he collapsed into bed, he drove to the cemetery. I followed him one week, keeping my distance. Watched him sit by Miriam's grave for an hour, talking to the headstone like she could hear him. Maybe she could. I'd like to think she could. One night, about 6 weeks after the settlement, Aaron came home from his construction job looking different. Not tired exactly. Energized. "My supervisor offered me a crew lead position," he said. $55,000 a year. Benefits. Real salary. "That's great, son. It's not tech money. Not the life I thought I'd have." "Is it enough?" He thought about that. "Yeah, it's enough." "Then that's all that matters." The payments to Clara went out like clockwork. $1,000 on the first of every month. Aaron tracked them obsessively, marking each one off on a calendar he kept by his bed. By July, we'd settled into a routine. Aaron working, me keeping the house running, both of us figuring out how to be father and son again after years of distance. Then one evening in August, a car pulled up outside. I looked out the window, and my stomach dropped. It was Clara. She got out of a BMW I didn't recognize, wearing a dress that probably cost more than Aaron's monthly construction salary. Walked up to the door like she owned the place. Aaron was in the shower. I answered the door before she could knock. "Harold," she said with that fake smile. "Is Aaron home?" "He's busy." "I'll wait." "No, you won't. You got your money. You don't get to show up here." Her smile faltered. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need to talk to him." "About what?" "That's between me and my husband. Ex-husband. Papers are signed." "Not yet, they're not. Divorce takes 6 months in Illinois. We're still legally married." She tried to look past me into the house. "Please. 5 minutes." Every instinct told me to slam the door in her face. But it wasn't my call to make. Aaron was an adult. If he wanted to talk to her, that was his choice. I left the door open and went to the bathroom. Knocked. "Aaron, Clara's here." The water shut off. "What?" "She's at the front door. Wants to talk to you." Silence. Then, "Tell her to leave." I went back to the door. "You heard him." Clara's face hardened. "I heard you. I want to hear it from him." Aaron appeared then, wet hair, wearing sweatpants and an old T-shirt. He looked at Clara through the screen door, like she was a stranger. What do you want? To talk, without an audience. She glanced at me. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of my father. Fine. She straightened her shoulders. I made a mistake. The lawsuit, the divorce, all of it. I was angry and hurt, and I lashed out. But I've had time to think, and I want to try again. The words hung in the air like smoke. Aaron just stared at her. You're serious. Completely. We were good together. Aaron, we could be good again. We were never good together. I was just too blind to see it. Winter came to Indiana the way it always does. Slowly, then all at once. By November, Aaron had been promoted again at the construction company. Assistant project manager now, making $68,000 a year. Not bad for someone who'd started swinging a hammer 8 months earlier. We'd fallen into a comfortable rhythm. He'd wake up early, make coffee, leave mine in the pot before heading to whatever site he was managing that day. I'd handle the house stuff, run errands, meet up with guys from church for lunch. Evenings we'd eat together, watch the news, talk about nothing important. It felt like having my son back. One Saturday morning, I found him in the garage going through boxes we'd stored after Miriam died. Old photo albums, yearbooks, random stuff we couldn't throw away but didn't know what to do with. Looking for something? I asked, just remembering. He held up a photo of him at maybe 8 years old, missing his 2 front teeth, holding a fish he'd caught. Miriam was beside him grinning like he'd caught a whale. I'd forgotten how much she loved those fishing trips. She hated fishing, but she loved watching you enjoy it. That was her whole thing, wasn't it? She was happy when we were happy. Pretty much. He set the photo down carefully. I've been thinking about something, and I want to run it by you before I do anything. All right. The construction company is expanding. They're opening an office in Fort Wayne, and they want me to manage it. It's a big promotion. $85,000 plus bonuses. But it means moving 2 hours away. My stomach dropped, though I try not to show it. That's a good opportunity. It is, but I'd be leaving you here alone. And after everything that happened with Mom, after missing all that time with her, I don't want to make the same mistake twice. I sat down on an overturned bucket, thought about what Miriam would say. She'd tell him to take the job, to build his life, to not let her death become a chain holding him in place. You should take it, I said. Dad, I'm serious. This is your chance to rebuild. You've worked hard for it, but you'd be here by yourself. I've been by myself before. I'll survive. It doesn't feel right. You know what doesn't feel right? Turning down a good job because you're afraid of disappointing me. That's just Clara all over again, different person. He flinched at that. That's not fair. Maybe not, but it's true. You can't live your life trying to make up for missing your mother's last months. Best way to honor her is to be successful, be good, be the man she raised. And if that means moving to Fort Wayne, then move to Fort Wayne. I don't want to lose you too. 2 hours isn't losing someone. It's a phone call and a drive. You think I won't be visiting to make sure you're eating vegetables? He laughed despite himself. So you really think I should do this? I think you should do whatever makes you happy. And if that's managing a construction office in Fort Wayne, then yes. He nodded slowly, processing. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. Good opportunities don't wait around. 3 days later, he accepted the job. His start date was January 2nd. That gave us about 6 weeks to prepare. We spent Thanksgiving together. Just the 2 of us. Aaron tried to cook a turkey using Miriam's old recipe. It came out a little dry, but we drowned it in gravy and pretended it was perfect. Mom made this look so easy, he said, sawing to the bird. Your mother practiced for 30 years. Give yourself time. I'm 32 years old. I should know how to cook a turkey. Knowing how and doing how are different things. You'll figure it out. We ate in comfortable silence. After dinner, Aaron pulled out a bottle of whiskey I didn't know he had. Where'd that come from? I asked. Bought it last week. Thought we could toast Mom properly. He poured 2 glasses. We raised them. To Miriam, I said, the best woman either of us will ever know. To Mom, Aaron added, who loved us even when we didn't deserve it. We drank. The whiskey burned going down, but warmed everything after. Can I tell you something? Erin said after a minute. Sure. Sometimes I hear her voice, like she's in the next room or standing behind me. Usually when I'm making a decision I'm not sure about. I'll hear her say something like, "You know what's right, honey," or "Trust yourself." Is that crazy? If it is, then I'm crazy too. I hear her all the time. Yeah. Every morning when I'm making coffee. Every Sunday when I'm getting ready for church. Every time I walk past her chair and expect to see her sitting there. I took another sip. That's not crazy. That's love. It doesn't just stop because someone's gone. I wish I'd told her that more. That I loved her. She knew. Did she, though? I was such a terrible son at the end. Maybe she died thinking I didn't care. Your mother knew you loved her, even when you were being stupid, even when Clara had your head all turned around. She knew. That's what mothers do. They know. He wiped his eyes. I hope you're right. I am right. And you want to know how I know? How? Because she told me. About a week before she died. When you hadn't called in a month, when it was clear you weren't going to make it home in time. She looked at me and said, "Harold, don't be angry with our boy. He's just lost right now. But he'll find his way back. They always do." Erin's face crumpled. She said that, word for word. Your mother had more faith in you than you had in yourself. I'm going to make her proud. I swear to God, Dad, I'm going to make her proud. You already are, son. You already are. Christmas was quiet. Erin bought a small tree, and we decorated it with ornaments Miriam had collected over the years. Each one had a story. The felt reindeer Erin made in second grade. The glass angel from our 10th anniversary. The wooden nativity we bought on vacation in Tennessee. We should keep doing this, Erin said, hanging the angel on top. Every year, keep her traditions going. I'd like that. Christmas morning, he handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $5,000. What's this? I asked. Payment. For the lawyer fees, letting me stay here, everything you've done. I know it doesn't cover all of it, but... Erin, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You taught me that debt should be repaid. That family helps family, but nobody gets a free ride. This is me being responsible. I looked at the check. Part of me wanted to tear it up. Part of me recognized he needed this. Thank you, I said. But let the record show you don't owe me anything. The record can show whatever it wants. I'm still paying you back. He moved to Fort Wayne the first week of January. I helped him load boxes into a U-Haul, drive him to his new apartment, unload everything into a space that smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. It's not much, he said, looking around the bare walls and second-hand furniture. It's yours. That makes it enough. You sure you're going to be okay? Erin, I'm 64 years old. I've been taking care of myself since before you were born. I'll manage. Call me if you need anything. Same to you. We shook hands. Then Erin pulled me into a hug. Thank you, he said quietly, for not giving up on me, for letting me come home, for everything. That's what fathers do. We don't give up. He pulled back, eyes wet. I love you, Dad. Love you too, son. I drove home that evening through snow flurries and gathering dark. The house was quiet when I walked in. Empty, but not in a bad way, just in a different way. I made coffee, sat in Miriam's chair, and thought about the past year. The funeral, the fight with Erin, Clara's lawsuit, all of it. So much pain packed into 12 months. But also growth. Erin had found himself again, found his spine, found his way back to who he really was underneath all Clara's manipulation. Miriam would have been proud. I was proud. The months that followed settled into a new normal. Erin called every Sunday evening, told me about his week, asked about mine. Once a month he'd drive down to visit. We'd have dinner, catch up properly. Every time he came, he'd spend an hour at Miriam's grave, talking to her, updating her, keeping her memory alive. In March, Erin called with news. I met someone he said, nervous. Yeah. Her name's Beth. She's a teacher. 3rd grade. We met at a coffee shop near my office. That's great, son. It's early. We've only been on a few dates. But, Dad, she's different. She asked about Mom in our first conversation. Wanted to know about her, what she was like. She didn't change the subject or act uncomfortable. She just listened. Sounds like a good woman. She is, and I'm taking it slow, learning from my mistakes, not rushing into anything. Smart. I told her about Clara, about missing the funeral, about all of it. Figured if she was going to run, better now than later. What did she say? She said, everyone has a past. What matters is what you do with it. His voice got soft. She reminded me of Mom a little bit, not in looks, in how she makes me feel. Safe, seen, like I can be myself. Then I can't wait to meet her. 3 months later, Aaron brought Beth down for weekend. She was exactly as he described, warm, genuine, interested in people. She asked to see photos of Miriam, wanted to hear stories, laughed at all the right places. On Sunday morning, Aaron took her to the cemetery. I watched in the car as they stood at Miriam's grave, holding hands, Beth listening while Aaron talked. When they came back, Beth's eyes were red. Thank you for raising him right, she said to me. I know he lost his way for a while, but the man he is now, that's your and Miriam's work. He found his way back on his own. We just left the door open. That evening, after they left, I stood at Miriam's grave myself. First time I'd been there in weeks. You were right, I said to the stone. He found his way back. And I think he found someone good. Someone like you. The wind rustled through the trees. It might have been imagination, but I swear I felt her there, felt her approval, felt her peace. I walked back to my truck, the setting sun painting everything gold, got in, started the engine, and drove home to an empty house that didn't feel quite as empty anymore. Because sometimes family isn't about who's physically present. Sometimes it's about who stays in your heart, who shapes your decisions, who whispers wisdom when you need it most. Miriam was gone, but she wasn't absent. She'd never be absent. And Aaron, my son who I'd almost lost, had found his way back, not just to me, but to himself, to the man his mother always believed he could be. That night, I pulled out Miriam's letter one more time. Read her words about letting people fall, about trust and judgment, about love that keeps doors unlocked. She'd known. Somehow, even dying, she'd known how this would play out. I kept the door open. I whispered, just like you said. And in the quiet of that house where we'd built 42 years of memories, I felt something I hadn't felt since she died. I felt complete. Not because everything was perfect, but because what needed to happen had happened. The lessons were learned. The family was healing. The love remained. And really, what more could any of us ask for? So, what do you think? Did Aaron truly change? Or would you have kept your guard up? And could you forgive someone who missed a funeral like that? Share your thoughts below. And let me know if you've ever had to make the choice between justice and mercy with someone you love. The phone rang at 2 a.m., and I knew immediately something was wrong. Nobody calls at 2 a.m. with good news. I fumbled for my glasses, grabbed the phone off the nightstand. Aaron's name on the screen. Dad. His voice was tight. Scared. I need you to come to Fort Wayne. Now. What happened? It's Beth. There was an accident. She's in the hospital and His voice cracked. I can't do this alone. I was dressed and out the door in 10 minutes. The drive to Fort Wayne never felt longer. Every mile stretched like taffy while my mind ran through worst-case scenarios. Aaron had finally found someone good, someone who reminded him of his mother, and now this. The hospital parking lot was nearly empty. I found Aaron in the waiting room, still in his work clothes, covered in drywall dust. He looked up when I walked in, and something in his face reminded me of the little boy who used to run to me when he scraped his knee. What happened? I asked. Car accident. Some drunk driver ran a red light and T-boned her on the passenger side. Her car flipped twice. He rubbed his face. She's in surgery now. They said something about internal bleeding and broken ribs, and I stopped listening after a while because it was too much. I sat beside him. Didn't say the empty things people say in situations like this. Sometimes presence matters more than words. She was coming from visiting her sister. Aaron continued. We were supposed to have dinner, but she called and said she'd be late. If I just picked her up instead of letting her drive, if I'd gone with her, maybe... Don't do that to yourself. You can't control drunk drivers. I keep thinking about Mom, about how I wasn't there when she needed me. And now Beth's in there fighting for her life. And what if I lose her too? What if this is punishment for how I treated Mom? That's not how the world works, son. Isn't it though? I miss Mom's funeral, and now the universe is taking away another woman I love. Aaron, look at me. I waited until he did. Bad things happen to good people all the time. It's not punishment. It's not karma. It's just life being hard and random and unfair. A doctor came through the double doors. Aaron shot to his feet. Mr. Denton? That's me. Beth made it through surgery. We repaired the internal bleeding and set her ribs. She's stable but critical. The next 24 hours will tell us more. Can I see her? Once she's moved to ICU. About an hour. But Mr. Denton, she's going to have a long recovery ahead. Months of physical therapy. Her injuries were severe. Aaron nodded, processing. The doctor left, and he collapsed back into the chair. She's alive, he whispered. She's alive. And she's going to stay that way. Beth's a fighter. We waited another hour before they let Aaron in to see her. I stayed in the waiting room, drank terrible coffee from a vending machine, and thought about Miriam, about all those nights I'd spent in a different hospital watching her fade away. Life's funny. You survive one nightmare just to walk into another. Aaron came back 45 minutes later looking hollowed out. She's unconscious. Hooked up to so many machines, I couldn't even count them all. Her face is bruised and swollen, and she looks so small in that bed. But she's breathing, because machines are helping her breathe. What if she doesn't wake up? What if she wakes up, but she's different? What if you take this 1 hour at a time instead of borrowing trouble from tomorrow? He nodded, but I could see his mind spinning, catastrophizing. Same thing I'd done with Miriam toward the end. Over the next 3 days, Aaron barely left the hospital. I brought him food he didn't eat, clean clothes he didn't change into, tried to convince him to go home and sleep. He refused. I wasn't there for Mom, he said. I'm not making that mistake again. Beth woke up on day 4, groggy and confused, but awake. Aaron called me crying with relief. I drove up immediately, found him in her room holding her hand while she drifted in and out of consciousness. Hey, Mr. Denton, she whispered when she saw me. Even half dead, she was polite. Hey yourself. You gave us quite a scare. Sorry about that. She squeezed Aaron's hand. Did I miss anything important? Just 3 days of me being a complete wreck. Aaron said, nothing major. She smiled weakly. That's my guy. Always dramatic. Watching them together reminded me so much of Miriam and me that my chest ached. The way they looked at each other. The way Aaron kept brushing hair from her forehead. The way Beth's whole face relaxed when he was near. This was real. This was what love looked like when it was healthy. Beth spent 2 weeks in the hospital before they released her. Aaron moved her into his apartment, even though the stairs were hell on her broken ribs. Set up the living room as a bedroom, so she wouldn't have to climb. Took time off work to care for her full time. This is going to destroy your new position, I told him one afternoon while Beth was sleeping. I don't care. Aaron, you worked hard for that job, and I'd give it up in a heartbeat if it meant taking care of her. He looked at me. I learned my lesson with Mom. Work will always be there. People won't. I couldn't argue with that. The company was surprisingly understanding. Gave Aaron 2 weeks of family leave even though he and Beth weren't married. His boss even sent flowers to the apartment with a card that said, "Take care of your girl. The office can wait." Beth's recovery was brutal. Physical therapy 3 times a week that left her sweating and crying. Pain medication that made her nauseous. Nights where she couldn't get comfortable no matter how many pillows Aaron arranged. Depression that hit around week 3 when she realized how long the road ahead was. I can't do this, she sobbed one evening. I can't be this burden on you. You're not a burden. You're the person I love and you're hurt. That's different. You should be at work, building your career, not playing nurse to your broken girlfriend. Beth, look at me. Erin waited until she did. I lost my mother because I put everything else ahead of her. My job, my wife, my pride. I'm not losing you the same way. So you're going to recover, and I'm going to help you, and we're going to get through this together. She cried harder, but this time into his shoulder while he held her. I watched my son become the man his mother always knew he could be. Patient, caring, present. Everything Clara had tried to erase. Beth brought back just by needing him. 6 weeks after the accident, Beth was finally able to walk without a cane. We celebrated with dinner at the apartment. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and salad, but it felt like a victory. To Beth, Erin raised his glass of water. The strongest woman I know. I don't feel strong, she said. I feel like I got hit by a truck. You literally did get hit by a truck, and you survived. That's pretty strong in my book. She laughed, then winced. Don't make me laugh. Ribs still hurt. After dinner, Beth excused herself for a bath. Erin and I cleaned up the kitchen together. You're doing good, son, I said while drying dishes. I'm just doing what should be done. That's more than most people manage. Your mother would be proud. You think so? I know so. This is who she raised you to be. Took you a while to remember, but you got there. He set down the dish he was washing. Dad, I want to ask Beth to marry me. The words hung in the air. That's a big step. I know, but almost losing her made me realize I don't want to waste time. Life's too short to wait for the perfect moment. You sure you're ready? After Clara? Clara was a mistake I learned from. Beth is different. She makes me better. Makes me want to be better. That's what marriage should be, right? That's exactly what it should be. So you think I should do it? I thought about Miriam, about proposing to her at 22 with nothing but hope and determination, about 42 years that flew by too fast. I think if you found someone worth keeping, you keep them. Everything else figures itself out. Erin grinned. I'm going to need help picking out a ring. Your mother's engagement ring is in my safety deposit box. Been there since she died. Was always meant to go to you. His eyes went wide. Dad, I can't take Mom's ring. Why not? She'd want Beth to have it. Want it to stay in the family. It means something instead of sitting in a bank vault collecting dust. Are you sure? I'm sure. We'll drive down next weekend and get it. Erin hugged me tight. Thank you for everything. For being here. For not giving up on me. For showing me what a good man looks like. Just pass it on. Be for your kids what I try to be for you. I will. I promise. The next weekend we drove to my bank. I opened the safety deposit box and pulled out the small velvet case. Hadn't looked at it in months. Opened it to reveal Miriam's ring. Simple gold band with a small diamond. Nothing fancy, but it had been ours. She wore this for 42 years, I said, handing it to Erin. Never wanted anything bigger or flashier. Said this ring represented the life we built together, and that was worth more than any diamond. Erin held it like it might break. It's perfect. Treat Beth right. Show up for her. Be present. That's all your mother ever wanted from marriage, and it's all Beth will want too. I will, Dad. I swear I will. 2 weeks later, Erin called with news. She said yes. He was practically shouting. I took her to the place where we had our first date and proposed, and she said yes. Congratulations, son. When's the wedding? We're thinking next spring. Something small. Just family and close friends. Nothing like the circus I had with Clara. Your mother would love that. I want to have it here in Indiana. Maybe at Mom's church? Would that be weird? I think that would be perfect. And suddenly everything felt right. Like puzzle pieces finally clicking into place after being scattered for years. Erin had found himself again. Found love again. Found his way back to the values Miriam and I had tried to instill in him. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. 3 days after the engagement, I got a call from a lawyer I'd never heard of, a woman named Patricia Chin calling about an urgent matter regarding Miriam Denton's estate. I'm sorry, I said. My wife's estate was settled months ago. There must be some mistake. No mistake, Mr. Denton. I'm calling on behalf of Clara Morrison. She's filed a claim against your late wife's estate alleging that Aaron Denton defrauded her during their marriage by hiding assets that should have been considered marital property. My blood ran cold. That's impossible. Miriam died before the divorce was finalized. Exactly, which means Aaron was still married when he inherited from his mother. Mrs. Morrison is claiming that inheritance should have been disclosed during their divorce proceedings and that she's entitled to half. That's insane. The inheritance went to me, not Aaron. But your son was the natural heir. Mrs. Morrison's legal team argues that you're holding assets in trust for him and that those assets should have been part of the divorce settlement. I sat down hard. How much is she claiming? Half of the total estate value, based on the paperwork filed. Approximately $130,000. The room tilted. $130,000. Everything Miriam and I had saved over a lifetime. Everything we planned to leave for Aaron to build a real future. And Clara wanted half. Has someone from your past ever come back to financially destroy you just when you thought you were free? Drop your experience below. And what would you do if you were in my shoes? I called Aaron immediately after hanging up with the lawyer. He was at a job site, but I could hear the noise die down as he walked away from the crew. Clara is suing us again, I said without preamble. Says she's entitled to half of your mother's estate. Silence. Then, she can't do that. The divorce is final. She got her settlement. Her lawyer says since you were still married when Mom died, any inheritance should have been disclosed. They're calling it marital property. That's bullshit. The inheritance went to you, not me. They're claiming I'm holding it in trust for you, that it's effectively your money and should have been part of the divorce. More silence. I could hear Aaron breathing hard, trying to control his anger. How much? Half the estate. About $130,000. Jesus Christ. His voice dropped. Dad, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. If I'd never married her. Don't. We can't go back and change it. We can only deal with what's in front of us. What do we do? I'm calling Bill Henderson. See what our options are. Bill's secretary got me in that same afternoon. I drove to his office feeling 20 years older than I had that morning. He read through the claim while I sat across from him, trying not to panic. This is a stretch, he finally said, but it's not without precedent. Meaning she might win? Meaning she has enough of a case that a judge won't dismiss it outright. We'll have to go to court. How much will that cost? Bill leaned back in his chair. Could be anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 in legal fees. Maybe more if they drag it out. So I can spend $50,000 fighting to keep $130,000. Those are my options. Or you can settle. Offer her something to make this go away. Like what? 20, 30,000 maybe. Still cheaper than fighting it, and you keep the majority of the estate. I wanted to throw something. Wanted to scream. Wanted to find Clara and tell her exactly what kind of person she was. But none of that would help. Let me think about it, I said. That evening Aaron drove down from Fort Wayne. He walked in looking like he'd aged 5 years in one day. Beth wanted to come, but I told her to rest. She's still not 100%. Probably for the best. This isn't going to be a fun conversation. We sat at the kitchen table. Same table where I confronted him about missing Miriam's funeral. Where he'd asked for money for a house. Where we'd slowly rebuild our relationship over the past year. I'm going to give her the money, I said. What? No. Dad will fight this. We'll spend $50,000 and 2 years in court just to prove a point. Meanwhile, your mother's memory gets dragged through depositions and hearings and legal briefs. Is that what you want? I want Clara to not win. Sometimes losing a battle wins you the war. If I give her $30,000 now, this goes away. She's out of our lives for good. No more lawyers, no more lawsuits, no more Clara Morrison. Aaron's hands were shaking. It's not fair. You and Mom worked your whole lives for that money. And your mother would tell me to do whatever brings peace. Fighting Clara in court won't bring peace. It'll just bring more anger. But $30,000 is just money. Your mother's memory, your relationship with Beth, your future. Those things matter more than money in a bank account. I'll pay you back. Every penny. I'll get a second job. Aaron, stop. This isn't your debt to repay. This is me choosing peace over justice. There's a difference. He put his head in his hands. I hate her. I hate her so much. Hate's just another chain keeping you connected to her. Let it go. Over the next 2 weeks, Bill negotiated with Clara's lawyer. Back and forth. Same dance as before. She wanted $50,000. We offered $20,000. She came down to $40,000. We went up to $25,000. Finally settled on $32,000. The papers came in the mail on a Tuesday. I signed them at the kitchen table while Aaron watched. That's it, he said. That's all it takes? Just sign away $32,000. That's all it takes. I feel like we should do something. Burn her house down or key her car, or we could just let her have the money and move on with our lives. How are you so calm about this? Because I'm tired, son. Tired of fighting. Tired of being angry. Tired of letting Clara Morrison live rent-free in my head. She wants money? Fine. Take the money. But she doesn't get anything else from us. Not our time, not our energy, not our peace. Aaron nodded slowly. Mom would say the same thing, wouldn't she? Your mother would say that some people will always take and take and take. And at some point you have to decide if what they're taking is worth more than your sanity. I mailed the signed papers the next day. 2 weeks later, $32,000 was transferred from my account to Clara's. I watched the numbers on my bank statement drop and felt nothing, no anger, no regret. Just relief that it was finally over. Aaron called that night. The money went through? Yep. How do you feel? Lighter. Really. It's done. She's gone. We can move forward now. I'm still going to pay you back. Aaron. No, Dad. Let me do this. Not because I owe you, but because I want to. Because it matters to me that I make this right. All right, but no second jobs. No killing yourself. Just when you can, if you can. Deal. Spring came to Indiana with that particular mix of rain and warmth that makes everything green overnight. Aaron and Beth's wedding was planned for May 15th at Miriam's old church. Beth had been nervous about it at first. It feels like I'm taking her place, she said one afternoon while we were discussing flowers. You're not taking anyone's place. You're making your own place. That's different. But having the wedding at her church, wearing her ring, what if people think I'm trying to replace her? People who knew Miriam will know better. She'd want Aaron to be happy. Want him with someone who loves him right. That's you. Beth's eyes watered. I wish I could have met her. Me too. You two would have gotten along great. The wedding planning went smoothly. Nothing elaborate. Just simple decorations, a small ceremony, dinner afterward at a local restaurant. Aaron and Beth didn't want the big production Clara had insisted on the first time. I learned my lesson about expensive weddings, Aaron said. This is about making promises, not making a show. 1 week before the wedding, Beth's parents drove up from Indianapolis. Her dad was a quiet man who worked in accounting. Her mom was a kindergarten teacher with more energy than seemed physically possible. Good people, the kind who raise their daughter right. We all had dinner together that first night. Beth's mom, Linda, couldn't stop talking about how excited she was for grandchildren. Beth kept telling her to slow down. Aaron just smiled and held Beth's hand under the table. After dinner, Beth's dad, Tom, pulled me aside on the porch. Aaron told me what happened with his first wife, with his mother, all of it. He's a good kid who made some mistakes. That's what we figure. Linda was nervous at first. Divorce is always a red flag. But watching them together, seeing how he takes care of her after the accident, that's a good man. He is now. Took him a while to remember it. Tom nodded. We all lose ourselves sometimes. Important thing is finding your way back. That's exactly what Miriam used to say. The wedding day came in with perfect weather. Sunny but not too hot. Slight breeze, not a cloud in the sky. I helped Aaron with his tie in the church basement, while Beth and her bridesmaids got ready upstairs. You nervous? I asked, terrified. Why? What if I mess this up too? What if I turn into the person I was with Clara? You won't. How do you know? I finish his tie, step back to look at him. Because you learned. Because you paid the price for those mistakes, and it changed you. Clara brought out your worst. Beth brings out your best. That's the difference. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making her happy. Don't do that. He looked confused. What? Don't make her happiness your only job. Be partners. Support each other. But don't lose yourself trying to make her happy. That's just Clara all over again, different direction. So what do? Show up. Be honest. Choose her every day, even when it's hard. That's all marriage is. Choosing each other over and over until it becomes habit. The ceremony was simple and perfect. Aaron's eyes watered when Beth walked down the aisle. Beth's voice shook when she said her vows. They exchanged rings. Miriam's ring on Beth's finger, a new one for Aaron, and kissed while everyone clapped. At the reception, Aaron gave a speech thanking everyone for coming. Then he looked at me. I want to thank my dad. He could have given up on me when I was at my worst. Could have told me I made my bed and had to lie in it. But he didn't. He kept the door open. And that made all the difference. People clapped. I tried not to cry but failed miserably. Later, during a quiet moment, Beth found me sitting at a table. Can I show you something? She asked. Of course. She pulled out a small photo in a frame. Miriam's face smiled out from it. One of the pictures from the house. The one where she was laughing at something I'd said. Aaron gave this to me, Beth said. Told me stories about her. About how she never gave up on people. How she believed in second chances. How she loved with her whole heart. I'm carrying this with me today. Because even though I never met her, she's part of our story. Part of what brought us here. My throat closed up. She would have loved you. I hope so. Because I'm going to spend my life making sure Aaron never forgets where he came from. Never forgets the people who shaped him. You're good for him. He's good for me too. That's how it should work, right? That's exactly how it should work. The reception wound down around midnight. Aaron and Beth left for a weekend honeymoon at some bed and breakfast in Brown County. Nothing fancy, just time together. I drove home in the dark. Miriam's presence so strong, I could almost feel her in the passenger seat. We did good, I said out loud. Our boy found his way back. Found someone good. You'd be proud of who he became. The house was quiet when I got home. I made coffee even though it was late, sat in Miriam's chair, and thought about everything that had happened in the past 18 months. From Miriam's death to Aaron's betrayal to Clara's lawsuits to Aaron's redemption to this wedding. So much pain and growth packed into such a short time. My phone buzzed. Text from Aaron. Thank you for everything. I love you, Dad. I typed back, love you too, son. Be happy. 3 simple words. But they held everything. Be happy. That's all Miriam ever wanted for us. That's all I wanted for Aaron. That's all any parent wants for their children. For them to find happiness and hold on to it. I finished my coffee, turned off the lights, and went to bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new joys, new moments. But tonight, everything was exactly as it should be. Have you ever seen someone completely turn their life around after hitting rock bottom? Share your story in the comments. And do you believe people can really change, or is it all temporary? The first year of Aaron and Beth's marriage passed in a blur of normalcy that felt almost suspicious after all the chaos. Aaron got another promotion at work, regional operations manager now, overseeing 3 offices across Indiana. Beth went back to teaching 3rd grade, still dealing with occasional pain from the accident, but managing. They bought a small house in Fort Wayne that needed work. Spent weekends fixing it up, painting rooms, planting a garden. The kind of simple, honest life that looks boring from the outside, but feels like everything from the inside. I drove up once a month to visit. Sometimes helped with projects around the house. Sometimes just sat in their living room drinking coffee and watching them be happy together. Around Thanksgiving that first year, Beth pulled me aside while Aaron was outside wrestling with a stuck gutter. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. "Does Aaron know?" "Finding out tonight at dinner. But I wanted to tell you first. Wanted you to know that." She stopped, choosing words carefully. "This baby is going to know all about Miriam, about the woman who raised Aaron right. I'm not going to let her memory fade. Thank you for that. She's part of our family. Will always be part of our family." That evening at dinner, Beth told Aaron. He cried, happy tears this time, and immediately started planning. They'd need a bigger house eventually, need to save for college, need to figure out childcare when Beth went back to work. Slow down, Beth laughed. "I'm 8 weeks pregnant, not giving birth tomorrow. I just want to be prepared, want to do this right." "You will. We will." They decided to wait until after the first trimester to share the news widely. But Aaron called me that night, voice shaking with emotion. "I'm going to be a dad. You're going to be a great dad. What if I mess it up? What if I turn into the person I was? What if—" "Aaron, you're not that person anymore. You haven't been for years. Give yourself some credit. I want to be like you and Mom. Want to give my kids what you gave me. Then you will. It's not complicated. Just show up, pay attention, and love them even when they're being stupid." He laughed. Speaking from experience on that last part? Definitely speaking from experience. The pregnancy went smoothly. Beth had some morning sickness early on, but nothing too terrible. Aaron went to every doctor's appointment, read every parenting book he could find, drove Beth slowly insane with his hovering. "He won't let me lift anything heavier than a coffee cup," she complained during one visit. "Yesterday I tried to carry in groceries, and he practically tackled me. He's excited and scared. Give him time to find his balance." I know. It's sweet, also infuriating. They found out in February they were having a girl. Aaron called me at 6 in the morning to share the news. "A daughter," he kept saying. "I'm having a daughter. Congratulations, son. I need to learn how to do hair. And I need to—" "What do you even do with a girl? Mom handled all that stuff when I was growing up. You figure out as you go. Same as everything else. What if I fail her? What if she ends up hating me?" "Aaron, you're catastrophizing again. Take a breath." He did. "Sorry. I just want to be good at this." Nobody's good at it starting out. You learn on the job. Make mistakes. Apologize. Do better next time. That's all parenting is. Showing up and trying. They decided to name her Miriam. Miri for short. "If that's okay with you," Aaron said when they told me, "we want to honor Mom. Want her name to keep living." I couldn't speak for a solid minute. Finally managed. "Your mother would love that. You're sure? It's not weird or—" "It's perfect." Baby Miriam, Miri, arrived on June 3rd at 6:42 a.m. 7 pounds 4 ounces, full head of dark hair, and lungs that could wake the dead. Aaron called me from the hospital, sobbing. So hard I could barely understand him. "She's here, Dad. She's perfect. She's—" "Breathe, son. I can't. She's so small and perfect, and I'm holding her, and I can't believe this is real." "It's real. You're a father now. I wish Mom could see her." "She can. Wherever she is, she can." I drove to Fort Wayne that afternoon. Found Aaron in Beth's hospital room, looking exhausted and happier than I'd ever seen him. Beth was sleeping. He was holding the baby like she might evaporate if he squeezed too tight. "Want to meet your granddaughter?" he whispered. He handed me the baby. She was wrapped in one of those hospital blankets. Tiny face scrunched up, making small noises in her sleep. And I swear to God, she looked exactly like Miriam had in old photos from when Aaron was born. Same nose, same chin, same little furrow between her eyebrows. "She looks like her grandmother," I said quietly. That's what Beth said. Like Mom came back to keep an eye on us. Maybe she did. I held that baby and felt something shift. The grief I'd carried for 2 years didn't disappear, but it transformed, became something softer, less sharp, because here was Miriam's name living on in this tiny person who'd never met her but would hear stories about her. would grow up knowing her grandmother's love through the way Aaron and Beth loved her. The cycle continues. The love continues. Even when people die, they live on in how they shape the people who survive them. Over the next months, I drove to Fort Wayne every other week, watched Aaron transform into a father, the kind who changed diapers at 3 a.m. without complaining, who sang off-key lullabies, who stared at his daughter like she invented the concept of being adorable. "I get it now," he said one evening while we watched Miri sleep in her bassinet. "Why you and Mom did everything you did. Why you worked so hard, sacrificed so much. This feeling, I'd do anything for her. Welcome to parenthood." Did I make you feel this way? When I was little, every single day. Even when I was being an idiot about Clara and missing Mom's funeral and everything else? Especially then. Love doesn't stop just because people disappoint you. It just hurts more. He was quiet for a moment. "I'm sorry, Dad, for all of it. I know I've apologized before, but..." "Aaron, you don't need to keep apologizing. You made mistakes. You fixed them. We moved forward. That's done now." "Is it though? Do you trust me again?" I looked at him, really looked, at the man he'd become, at the father he was becoming, at all the ways he'd grown from that person who'd missed his mother's funeral. "I trust you," I said, "completely." His eyes watered. "That means everything." When Miri was 6 months old, they brought her to Indiana for her first visit to Miriam's grave. We all went together, Aaron, Beth, the baby, and me. It was a cold November day, but sunny. Aaron carried Miri, while Beth held flowers we'd picked up on the way. We stood at the grave while Aaron introduced his daughter to the grandmother she'd never meet. "This is Miri, Mom. She's named after you because you were the best person we knew, and we wanted to grow up with your strength and your kindness and your faith." The baby made a noise, not crying, just a little sound, like she was listening. "I'm doing better, Mom. I'm showing up. I'm being the man you raised me to be. And I'm going to teach Miri everything you taught me, about family, about respect, about showing up even when it's hard." Beth was crying quietly beside him. I was fighting back tears. Even the baby seemed subdued, like she understood something important was happening. "I miss you," Aaron continued, "every single day. But I'm not lost anymore. You left me a map through Dad and through Beth, and through remembering who I was before I forgot. So thank you for everything, for never giving up on me even when I gave up on you." We stood there in silence for a few more minutes. Then Aaron kissed the baby's head and turned to leave. On the way back to the car, Beth touched my arm. "Thank you for being patient with him, for believing he could change. I know it wasn't easy. He's my son. Giving up was never an option. Not every parent would say that. Then not every parent understands what family means." That Christmas, we all gathered at my house. The first time in years the place felt full. Aaron and Beth and Miri stayed for a week. We cooked meals together, watched movies, built a fire in the fireplace, took turns walking the baby when she fussed at night. It felt like family, real family, the kind built on presence and forgiveness and love that survives mistakes. On Christmas morning, Aaron handed me an envelope. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a check for $50,000. "Aaron, I can't." "It's not a gift. It's repayment. For the lawyer fees with Clara, for letting me live here, for the money you gave up in settlements. All of it. This is too much. It's not enough, but it's what I can do right now. And Dad," he looked me in the eye, "I'm not that person anymore. The one who took and never gave back. I'm done being that guy." I folded the check back into the envelope, thought about refusing it.